If you're a big swim team and you like to order a lot of gear, maybe you ought to check out Swim Outlet Team Division for these reasons. Swim teams receive a 10% discount on bulk orders. Swim teams or organizations get an 8% commission on referred sales. You'll also like their customization services, which is affordable and available at all times during the year for all team gear. With over 50,000 items in stock, you can get most anything you want. Swim Outlet Team Division. You need to try it out. You'll be glad you did.
This is the Morning Swim Show for Monday, October 21st, 2013. I'm your host, Jeff Cummings, and we're going all the way to the other side of the Pacific Ocean to talk to today's guest. It's Go Swim Month in Australia, and several national team members are visiting local clubs to get kids excited about swimming. Sally Foster did her part in a recent Go Swim weekend event, and she joins us now via Skype from Adelaide. Sally, it's great to see you. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it must be a great time to be an Aussie. You're headed towards summer, we're headed towards winter.
Yeah, it definitely is a great time, although at the moment there's a few fires in Sydney, so unfortunately that's a bad thing, but the weather here is fantastic.
Yeah, we always get the news of that. It's always terrible to hear about that. But the swimmers, I would imagine, really like being swimmers in Australia because you guys rarely see the winter because you come up here during the summer to compete in all the big international meets. I mean, have you ever really seen a winter in Australia?
No, I was quite lucky over the past sort of 8 years. I've sort of missed most of the winters, and I lived in Canberra for most of that, where it gets probably the coldest in Australia. So I'm pretty happy to have missed most of the winters where it gets down to -6 and so on. But yeah, I'm really happy that I swim and that it's, yeah, we like warm weather.
Well, next year you got the Pan Pacific Championships that are going to be on the Gold Coast. What's the weather like there in August when the meet's going to be happening?
The weather should be pretty good there in August. I've never lived on the Gold Coast, but it's always, they call it the sunny state, and it's always pretty sunny there and beautiful weather. So I'm sure everybody will have an amazing time.
Tell us about Go Swim Month in Australia. I said at the top of the show, it's about getting kids excited about swimming. Is that pretty much the main goal of it?
Yeah, it is pretty much the main goal. It's basically the swimmers from the Australian swim team getting out there to all of the local clubs around the area and the rural clubs and trying to get kids involved and excited about swimming and racing. A lot of the clubs do come on try days, so kids come down that haven't been involved in the club before and see what it's like to stand up behind a block and race. Even if it's just 25 metres, 50 metres, it's sort of giving them a bit of an experience and seeing what it's like and seeing if they want to join up and be a part of swimming.
And you visited the Playford Aquatic Club last weekend. Tell us what that experience was like.
Yeah, that was really, really great. Playford's a little bit out of Adelaide, just outside of Adelaide, or it's still part of Adelaide, I guess. But they've just won Club of the Year. I think they told me that a couple of years ago they were actually about to fold as a club, and then they reinvented it and have encouraged kids back to swimming. And yeah, there were a lot of kids there and they were really excited. They were telling me about their races and I was signing autographs and took down my medals to show them. So it was, just a bit of fun, and I think they really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll get to do another couple this month as well.
What's it like now to have these kids look up to you as a role model in swimming?
It's quite strange because I'm not the biggest name in swimming, so I don't really see myself as that. But I guess I always try and set a really good example and encourage kids to swim. I've swam since I was born, basically, so I definitely think that anybody can swim, and even if it's just a social thing and to keep fit, and I think that it's great to be in a position that I am so that I can encourage kids, and if I can just encourage one kid that could possibly make it one day, then my job's done.
Well, Australia is an island country, and a lot of people, it seems, being outside of Australia, we think, oh, everybody must swim because most of the population's located near the water. Is it difficult to get people to learn to swim and get involved in swimming?
It's not. I guess it's not too difficult to get them involved in swimming. I think a lot of kids at a young age we do learn to swim because it's quite a there's quite a lot of water around in Australia, and we try to encourage kids to learn how to swim, so at least they have survival techniques. But yeah, then trying to get them to continue on swimming after that, I think that we're working on it, and we're definitely getting more and more kids involved.
Yeah, you've got other sports there. I mean, you got cricket and rugby, so you definitely have to try to fight against all that.
Yeah, it's definitely not a big money sport, swimming in Australia. So there's a lot of other big money sports that get a lot more TV air and things like that. But I think if you learn how to swim and you enjoy it and they keep coming back, then we can keep them in it.
Well, I want to go back to this talk about you being a swimming idol. When you were growing up in Perth as a young swimmer, who were your swimming idols?
I guess your typical sort of swimmers when I was younger were sort of like Kieran Perkins and Susie O'Neill and Daniel Kolsky and just all of the swimmers that I looked up to, and watching them on TV, watching them compete in Olympic Games and win and things like that. I think they were probably my biggest idols.
Yeah, those are pretty big names. I don't think you can go wrong with those. It's kind of interesting, though, that you didn't mention someone like Liesl Jones, who, being a breaststroker, I guess you were probably at the time that she was doing very well. You were also doing very well, so she was probably more of a rival than an idol.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to idolize people that you're on a team with and you swim against. I think that you sort of see them as being human. So I think when I was younger and not really that good at swimming and was just starting to do it competitively and seeing people like Kieran and Susie, you definitely idolise people like them. But then people like Liesl, who are amazing athletes in themselves, but once you get to know them, you become their friend. It's hard to sort of to see them in an idolised light. I guess I sort of see them as more as friends and rivals than idols.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Speaking of Liesl, I mean, she was one of the best, if not the best, breaststroker in Australia for many years, and I'm sure, like a lot of the other breaststrokers, it was kind of tough getting out of her shadow for many years. And now that she's retired, you're now the best breaststroker in Australia. How does it feel to be to have that status right now?
Oh, I don't know. I never saw myself as that. Even at trials, I think this year when I won both the 100 and 200, it was a bit more of a shock than anything else. But yeah, Liesl was a fantastic competitor, and it has left a bit of a hole, I think, not having her there. She was a lot of fun to have around on pool deck and in the marshalling area and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm happy that I've got the opportunity now to stand up, and there's a lot of girls behind me that are swimming really, really well and that now have the opportunity as well, and I'm sure that we'll see a lot more good breaststroke.
Well, like I said, you're 28 years old, so this isn't like a new thing for you. You've been on the national team for many, many years, but the 200 breast, you were in the final in Barcelona. You got 7th place. Oddly enough, that was your first final in a big major international championships. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I made a really big change last year after the Olympic Games. So I made the final Olympics, and then when I came back, I'd lived in Canberra for 8 years and trained under the same coach, and decided to come to Adelaide and train under a completely different coach. And I think we just made a lot of good changes, and I just I put a lot less pressure on myself to perform now. I think now I just go out there and see what I can do every time I race and see if I can improve myself. And I think that's definitely working for me. And yeah, swimming in the final at Worlds is definitely an exciting experience, and being able to do the relay as well with the girls is pretty amazing.
Who's your new coach?
My new coach is Peter Bishop.
Okay, I've heard that name before, and obviously he's doing very well with you. Have you two established this rapport that just kind of made everything work with you two? Was it easy to get started with him right away?
Yeah, it was. Peter's a really relaxed and outgoing and happy person, so it was pretty easy for me to sort of slot into the training program and into the group. And he had a lot of new ideas for me in my breaststroke, which was great. I think after 8 years with one coach, sometimes you can get a bit stuck on the way things should be and be a bit afraid of change. So it took me a little while to get used to the change, but Pete made it quite easy, and so did the guys that I'm training with. They made it really, really easy. So I train at the Marion Swim Club, and yeah, they're really great.
Well, another change I guess you're going to have to get used to soon is the new national team head coach that was just announced, Jocko Verheeren. I know you probably never met him, but what are your kind of early thoughts about having him now as the national head coach?
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. I've read his background and seen what he's done, and it's great news for Australia, and to have a coach like that come over and to be able to lead us, it'll be great. I think that there has been a bit of an empty gap for not having a head coach for the past few months, so yeah, to have him in is great.
What's your next big meet?
Oh, our next big meet is probably trials next year. I'm doing a couple of little meets in between, but they're just sort of our state championships here. But yeah, our trials are in April next year, and then from there, Commonwealth Games. So yeah, it's a bit of a while.
Yeah, no, that is good. You get some time to get some good training in.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Sally, before we let you go, we want to submit you to our final 5. These are 5 questions we ask all of our guests to get to know them a little bit better. So we want to start with our first question here, which is, if you could change the order of strokes in the individual medley, how would you change it?
Ooh. I'd probably put backstroke first because I absolutely hate backstroke. I'm terrible at backstroke. So I think I'd go backstroke, butterfly, breaststroke, freestyle.
Okay. What's a career besides professional swimming that you would like to try?
Oh. I'd love to be, well, I'm studying design at uni, and I'd love to, hopefully when it's all finished, I'd love to try a career in product design.
Okay, that's very nice. What's a career you would not like to try?
Ooh. I don't know. I don't think I'd like to be a fighter pilot.
Okay. If you could change or add any of the rules in the swimming rule book, what would it be?
Ooh. That's a really hard one because there's so many rules that have been changing lately. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that I'd probably bring in underwater cameras in the breaststroke. That would be my rule that I'd change.
Okay, okay. And last question, where do you like to go most on vacation?
I like to get back home to Perth. I'm originally from Western Australia and all my family is in Perth. So, yeah, anytime that I get off, I'd love to go home and see them and spend time with them.
Yeah, well, I haven't visited Perth. I've only been to Sydney, but I've heard a lot of great things about Perth.
Yeah, it's a great place too.
Well, Sally, thanks so much for joining us. We're glad to see that you're taking part in this Go Swim month, and have fun with the rest of the month, and we'll look forward to seeing how you do the rest of this season leading up to the trials next year.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
All right, bye.
All right, so that will do it for today's edition of the Morning Swim Show. You can find the latest news in aquatic sports on swimmingworld.com, and be sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook for constant updates and social media. I'm Jeff Cummings. Thanks for watching.